Warning, this podcast has stories of real-life events and true crime that happens every day. These stories may contain adult language and graphic or disturbing details not suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised.
132 in Bush, I've got him at gunpoint. Check your left phone for going to full evacuation at this time.
They're pulling them out.
1011, advise ready for escape.
God!
Another episode of War Stories. I'm Chuck. Tom will be here soon. He's got stuck at work. Is what it is. We do have lives, so sorry about that. He'll be here shortly. And if he doesn't show up, hey, you guys have me. And we have a great guest today. Our guest today is Tommy. Now, Tommy is a former Marine infantry. He's also a Navy SEAL. He's a CEO of Divine Savagery. He's a motivational speaker for business and wellness, and he's an athlete at Westside Barbell. Tommy,
what's going on, man?
How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm great.
Good. Awesome. So we were talking a little bit before about your Westside stuff, and that stuff's awesome. We're going to get to that because let me tell you, it's near and dear to my heart because that stuff's awesome.
Yeah, buddy.
But you're not just a Marine. You're a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
And you're not just a SEAL, you're also a Marine. It's crazy. How can you explain? I want to just jump right into because we're going to have so much to talk about.
Yeah,
and
man.
So sorry about the small talk for our listeners, but let me tell you, this guy, he has got some great stuff. He can talk. He's got good. I know he's going to have some great stories. And so we're just going to get it rolling. So, sir, you run a company, you're a CEO, you're also a Marine and a Navy SEAL. Tell me how you got into that. What was your call to service? How did it start? Let's just jump right in.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So it all started with family. I had it kind of led into it, right? But I had family that was my grandparents that were in. One was in the Army, one was in Merchant Marines during World War II era. One guy was a dentist, and the other guy was Merchant Marines on the ship. And then I had a couple of uncles that were in the Marine Corps, and it was one of those things where I kind of always got not pushed, but I always got introduced into service, and I was always in a service oriented job. I was, I went through Boy Scouts and got, an Eagle Scout or whatever. And it was always in me, man. I was like lifeguarding when I was a kid. Always wanted to work and kind of put it all in. But at the same time, man, I got bullied really bad. And when
you got bullied?
Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's another interesting story.
I'm going to say this for those who are not watching on YouTube. Tommy, this man right here makes me look small on camera. And we all know I'm not a small guy. Might be a little fat right now, but I'm telling you, not small by any means. Short, not small. Tommy is a monster and fills up this screen. And I'm not talking about like he's not fat. He is a monster. His traps go to his ears. His shoulders almost fill up the screen or touching almost wall to wall. I mean, I'm assuming you probably have to walk sideways through a room, and you got bullied.
Yeah, man. It was one of the, if you've ever seen that movie Central Intelligence, it was kind of sort of like that, except I wasn't fat. I was about this big around. Right.
Oh, you were a twig.
So check this out, bro. I'm 6'4". I hit 6'4" when I was like 13 years old. Right.
Oh my gosh.
And I was all legs. I had freaking Coke bottles, like the white Steve Urkel, man. Had Coke bottle glasses. And it was the 80s, right? I was like a lightning rod just to get beat up back then. But yeah, dude, freaking tossed in dumpsters, freaking put in lockers, beat up, like just
horrible.
Ganged up on, freaking kicked on, beat on. It ain't like nowadays, man, where you can just flip the screen off and then bullying's over. My feelings got hurt. No, man, it was freaking beat downs, and it came from weird places too, man. But I even got put in martial arts, and that didn't go well, at least in the beginning, until I kind of figured out how my body worked. But like I said, I was all legs, man.
Right. It's like you grew so fast. You didn't have a chance for all the mechanisms and the motoring system to catch up. You're just like, what do I do?
No, not at all. Like I would go to the local pool
and
the kids would like try to drown me. Right. So interestingly
enough.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that's actually honestly how I learned how to get a good breath hold. The only way that I could beat the guys was to try to, get out of the way, bite, claw as best I possibly could, swim down to the deep end and just stay there, until they had to go up for air. And then finally I just wait them out and then go up, grab my air, and then that, game over. So
I'm assuming that helped you later on in life.
Well, obviously, yeah, it worked out just a touch. You didn't. It was the honing phase. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But it's a weird thing, man. It's like you get, and I was, god dang, man, I was 6'4", probably 160 pounds, 170, 180, like nothing, man. Skinny, but no control of my body. But I did play basketball. That was like my sport. I could and for whatever reason, I could always run really well. So I ran track also. I was varsity all 4 years in basketball. I wanted to go, wanted to try to go pro and things like that. But
wow, so you're a stud athlete too.
I don't know about all that, but I got
varsity freshman year. Your humility is amazing, but it's pretty good.
Hey man, I'm just saying what happened. That was it. I got like all state defense, all my, because I don't know, man. I like the aggression of guys like Bill Laimbeer and Larry Bird and those like 80s style guys, like 80s Pistons, 80s Celtics, all those dudes. So I was like, the only way it's going to happen is through aggression. So I think out of something like that, you got two choices. You're going to start standing up to people, go toe to toe because you get sick of the beatings, or you just cave to it, you believe it, and you're going to end up, probably eating a bullet, which I honestly did, man. When I was 14, I remember taking a slack out of my dad's pistol, and it almost happened. I heard a voice say, "Don't do it. I got something for you." And I'm like, "Okay." Took the slack out of it, and then that was it. But I remember still seeing the shiny end of that freaking bullet. I was about ready to eat, man. I was about done training. That was it. But
oh my gosh,
it was the good Lord speaking to me, man, and it just came out the other end, and finally just got sick of the beatings. I was getting it from home too, so that wasn't great. And my one of my uncles that was a Marine that then went into the hostage rescue team for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, right? So they're counterterrorism. And he was like the golden boy. He was Captain America, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go do that. Well, I remember during one of the inspections, when I was at entry level training for the Marine Corps, one of the DIs came through and was like, "What do you guys want to do? What do you want to do in the Corps? What do you want to do in the Corps?" And that's when something snapped. And I'm like, I'm not going his route, because he went intel. He was an intel dude.
Right.
I'm like, I ain't doing that. I'm going to grunts, man. So, and that's what I wanted to do. And everything was like full steam ahead towards that. But anyway, it was the bullying coupled with, the family, the patriotism, the love for the country. And then it was just, I needed an outlet to get aggression out, because I had a lot of it inside and I didn't know where to put it. So, that helped, and it was a good place to be able to do it, and
it's
the military.
It seems like it. I mean, and we talk about divine intervention on the show a lot. And it seems like divine intervention is what really happened and saved your life. And God came down and spoke to you and says like, "Hey, no, you got so much more to give. Stop it." And you stopped, and you're like, "Okay, let's see where this goes." And it took you into the Marine Corps. So how was that? Your first 4 years in the Marine Corps? How did that look? How did that go?
That was good, man. It was fun. I did inactive reserve when I was going through college. We, did a couple of drills here and there, and then went active duty as soon as I graduated college. And it was a cool ride. First deployment, it was weird. I went to the East Coast, and I went to the East Coast till June, and I opted for that on my dream sheet, right? Because that's where the Mews were, and I wanted to go hit the Mew, and that's because that's where all the action was. And I went, all right, cool, that's fine, because everybody always made fun of the West Coast guys for being Hollywood Marines, and the the Hawaii guys are coconut Marines and all this stuff, but nobody ever said anything bad about the East Coast guys. So I'm like, cool. Come to find, it's just a bunch of fun trash talk. It doesn't matter. Everybody goes out, works hard, 100%. Does great stuff, man. Especially when the flag went up, but the balloon went up, and it was great, man. But I didn't end up going to the Mew because the freaking Twin Towers got hit, right? So everything got switched around. So we ended up going on a UDP, and I actually ended up in Okinawa.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you know what though, man? It was a good experience. Plus,
I bet.
we ended up getting to go do some fun stuff in the Philippines. And the Abu Sayyaf group were kind of running amok out there. And then when the invasion happened, when we got back from PI and the invasion happened, we got extended another 3 months. So we were actually out there for 9, and we got sent up to South Korea to be like, I guess the people that got monkey stomped if freaking North Korea decided to invade South Korea, because I guess there was a threat,
wow.
but they needed a Marine infantry company up there, and that was us. So we got to hear about the Iraqi invasion and all that stuff on the on the TV and AFN and all that stuff. But we ended up getting ours, man. We did. We came back. We were on Alpha Increment, and it was like the last month, and then the balloon went up for Haiti in 2004. I don't know if you remember that one.
Okay.
But I got that. That was the first like real combat deployment that happened, and we knocked that one out of the park. A lot of firsts happened that deployment, man. It was something.
Oh, wow.
Very weird environment. Didn't really know what to expect, but yeah, we went through a lot with that one. Even from the get go, it was a combat landing. It's like how.
Yeah.
What? First of all, what? And we did it in a C5.
That's crazy.
Oh, it's horrible.
Wow.
I don't recommend it.
We don't. I don't remember that in 2004 or 5. So I don't remember that because I was still in high school. I was graduated in 07, and then I went into the Marine Corps from there. And then they tried to shove us into Haiti again in 2000
For the hurricane.
10, yeah. But they got crazy there too, and they started attacking service members. And they got into they got us, and they said, "Hey, these guys are getting fucked with over there." Sent us through a whole like riot control stuff. They're like, "Hey, go over there and do riot control," and then we're getting ready to leave to go punch out with another MU in Afghanistan. And that shit got canked. Everything got canked. Got put on standby for about a month, and I was like, "Dude, what the heck?" And then they just like, "No, we're not doing anything." And they pulled dudes back from South America. Wow. And they made it all the way through the because I was at Courthouse Bay in Camp
Outhouse Bay.
Yeah, it's garbage, but it was cool. That's cool. They went all through the Panama Canal, and then they got told, "Hey, you got to come back," and they didn't even get their sea service ribbon. They had to come back.
So
we almost got a sea service ribbon just sitting on boat.
Were you riverine or recon?
So we were amphibious assault vehicles. So so we did the intercoastal river crossings and things like that. But our biggest thing was ship to shore breachings. If we were to invade a small island or anything that has a coastline, what that would look like in a 21st century urban warfare type of setting. Sure. And me and another NCO rewrote that standard operating procedure just for that. Sure. Specifically for urban operating in an urban environment, or at least in modern times, with these things and in the water, and what you do and what are the capabilities of the vehicle and all that cool fucking stupid shit. And so that's all we did, and it was a bunch of whatever. Anyways, Courthouse Bay was cool, Lejeune was cool, but yeah, they tried to shove us in Haiti then. So I always knew it was a shit show over there anytime we were to go there. And it sounds like it's been a shit show from the very beginning.
Well, it was a thing where we were going like every 4 years, man. Like they were going, they went a couple of times in the 90s, but they never really actually went in. Right. But ours it was a named operation. It was called Operation Secure Tomorrow. And it was the only, at the time, I don't know if they've done it since, but we were the only battalion in the Marine Corps in one deployment to get a combat action ribbon and a humanitarian service medal. But
can you talk about any of that stuff that was going on over there? Or?
Yeah, whatever you want. Sure.
Well, why'd they go over there in the begin with? What was
so you know Alpha Increment, right? We got everything. You're ready. You got all your stuff packed away, and you've got 72 hours to pretty much get the whole battalion up and move.
Right.
And it rotates like I can't remember. It was like quarterly or something. It rotated. Whatever.
We called it something different, but yeah, we had the same shit.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Alpha Increment was what we called it. But anyway, the funny thing was it was the last day we were supposed to transfer authority over to 2-8. It was the last day we had it, and that's when the freaking balloon went up. It was hilarious and tragic all at the same time. But I was the first crew to hit the deck. We had to be there in 24 hours, and the whole battalion had to be there in 72. So the trigger for us to go into Haiti was the president had to flee the seat and flee the country. It was Jean-Baptiste Aristide, I believe, at the time. And yeah, man, he freaking buggered out. And all the district chiefs of police were supposed to be dirty, corrupt, or whatever.
For sure.
Oh yeah, just massively. But it just depends how corrupt and who says they're corrupt, right? Because you got the National Army, and then you've got these guerrilla uprising guys called the Chimere, which that's who we got briefed were the bad guys. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So we got our law of armed conflict brief, and it was like lickety split, man. Get your stuff together, and we're gone. And we got told in the air. I remember we were because we went out to Cherry Point, and then flew from Cherry Point to Haiti, I believe, directly to Haiti. It was like a 4.5 hour flight on a C5 or something like that. And and it was about midway through. They're like, hey, we're going to do a combat landing. I'm sorry. It wasn't midway through. It was right before we were about to start the descent. And they said, we're going to do a combat landing, just so you guys know. We didn't get told that at all because the airfield was hot. You know, there were guys poised around the airfield to shoot at the freaking C5. I'm like, okay. So we had all of our Humvee. We had 2 Humvees in the C5 with us, and one had the Modus on it, and the other one had the tow. And we had them, we had them all chained down and everything, whatever. And they said, we're going to combat landing. I remember looking over my buddy and going, hey, did he just say combat landing? And then it's just like the plane just took a nosedive, dude. We're just going, oh my, what's happening? You know, and it's just, and it just plane just go. And then it's like they hit these air brakes, and then it just goes boom. And it's I didn't know a C5 could jump, but it felt like we freaking bounced, man. But we hit so hard that the chains popped off of all of the Humvees, right? Like every single chain popped. And we're going, okay. And they go, you guys got 2 minutes, and we're taking off. And we're going 2 minutes. I've never seen a C5. Like, there's no way. And then you start hearing tink, 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 tink. And we're like, okay, this is serious. They freaking dropped it. They dropped it. They're turning the bird and dropping the tail down right at the same time. And you can see looks like little fireflies. And we're like, nope, those are muzzle flashes. And so we got out there, man. And we literally had to fight our way up to the dadgum air terminal and seize it. And then that was the initial foothold into the country. And they gave us, I think, like 7 baseball cards for dudes there. And our goal, it was the only deployment that I've ever been on that was mission dependent and not time dependent. Because you go to deployment, even like, we did Iraq, Afghanistan, you're like, hey, we're going there for 6 months or whatever. Right. They told us, you come home when the mission's over. And the mission was we had to get a new president, and we had to replace all 12 district chiefs of police within the city of Port-au-Prince before we could freaking roll out. And the UN had to feel like it was safe enough to bring their little, blue helmet guys in and take over for us. And it was yeah, right. No problem. Right. We'll get that done in a week. No big deal.
Easy day, bro. Come on.
Yeah. No problem. What? That's it. I mean, we got it done. We got it knocked out in 5 months. And even had the SecDef at the time flew out to Haiti. I remember in the soccer stadium to give us like an attaboy before we freaking rolled out.
And to check your work. And he's like, let's just check.
Well, no, he wouldn't have come in. He wouldn't have flew in if it wasn't safe. Yeah. But who knows the political crap behind that? We didn't care about any of that, man. But
dude, that's freaking crazy. 5 months. That's fast.
Yeah, and the country itself was just in shambles, bro. Like it was insane. It's the one place where it's like the thing I remember most is the smell. But just rot, dude. You drive past. I mean, it's garbage. Like think of like a 4 or 6 lane highway. Go down to 1 lane because it's garbage and dead stuff, to include people that are just everywhere. Right. They had this slough down. You drive past the port every, the poor guys in India company, they actually had to stay down there. But you go down to the port and you can smell, they had a huge ditch, a big slough that they called the killing fields down there that they would dump bodies that they would find. And then they would either set them on fire, or you'd see all the pigs down there eating them, But you drive by and then your skin would be black as you pass by, and the soot was actually the burnt like human skin that was on you. So I was like, it reminded me of the stories that I heard from like Stalingrad, I'm
Wow.
just, I'm just like, God dang, bro, this is freaking gnarly. But our camis turned black. We didn't get a shower for like, I think it was like a month and a
Wow.
half. You could
Like
stand your
you're
camis up. They all turned
oh, I
black,
bet.
and they washed them in diesel.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was awful.
It's like you oh my god. It's like you guys were living in a crematorium. Like
No, it's crazy.
It's
And
just
then, and the
crazy.
funny thing is like 80% of the thing, we had to watch ourselves too, because AIDS was like 80-85%, right? So you get you're
Wow.
bleeding all over the place, right? And you get in a gunfight, that happens too. And then
Right.
the other, what is it? It was also 80% of the nation is voodoo. So
Ooh,
interacting with that kind of weird stuff on patrol and everything. I mean,
that's crazy.
I don't know. I had one. I don't know if she was a witch or a priestess or whatever, but she like tried to cast a spell on my squad. We were
wow.
doing a
With like the
there
dead
was-
chickens and shit.
Oh no, she had chicken feet, like a couple of bags of blood and some human fingers.
Holy shit. You know,
And
when
she,
you were
like-
saying that, I imagined her holding chicken feet like maracas.
No, it wasn't. She had them in a sack, and she poured them.
Oh,
She had this
shit.
like bucket, and she put it out in front of us because we were think of it as like a T intersection, right? And we've got we've got 4 Humvees lined up blocking it. And what it was is we were trying to filter people because there was a 30,000 person march from one of the cities to the Capitol. Because they were in protest of all the stuff that Aristide was doing, and they needed a new president, and it was just like that was their big political thing or whatever. So we had to work with the Haitian police, the ones that would actually show up, and then with us acting as kind of like crowd control. So we got issued all the riot stuff too, right? And that's where we came up with the old shake and bake of the stinger ball and the canister, the old what was it, the OC spray canisters, the CS gas canisters. Yeah, we do those mix, so we call it a shake and bake, for crowd control, and it worked out great. But yeah,
did you guys ever get to use the fire extinguishers?
Yep. So the one we got 2 of them. We got the little guys, and then we got the huge tanks. The ones that sprayed like 50 feet. I don't know, it wasn't yards. It had to be like 50 feet, but it was massive, man. Yeah, we got all of those, and that was that was fun. Tons of stinger balls and a lot of the freaking grenades. We got the shields. Which we use the shields a little bit, not much. We got the little riot helmets, which we ended up taking off anyway because they'd fog up and everything. But no, this gal came out and freaking like started hollering and yelling at the sky at us. And we're sitting here like this and just going, this really isn't smart on your part, but she's not armed, so it's like we're not gonna shoot her, but it's just like, we're like, go on, get. And she wouldn't, and she came by and like dumped the blood on her hand, and then like she touched the freaking Humvee, and I'm like, nope. So that little bucket of all of her little goodies, I went up there and like did the Ace Ventura, we're going downtown, poof, and I just punted it, man. And then everybody in the crowd just like stopped and went, and I'm going, I don't care. And then the next thing you know, she was into the crowd, and that was it. So it's just like, wow, whatever, man.
I love it.
But yeah, there was some weird stuff going on down there. There were some really nice humanitarian folks. When that went down, they turned into like Operation Clean Sweep, where we were trying to pick up the garbage and scoop up the dead bodies, do the riot stuff. And then, the starving people out there, man, the only thing that was fat were the pigs because they were eating the people. Just absolutely nuts. And guys getting in fights and riots over just food, like bags of rice and stuff like that. And these just starving people, and they're getting paid. Like that's their wages, is a bag of rice, so we had to go try to help organize all that stuff. So that was kind of wild, but a lot of weird stories came out of that one, man.
Oh, I bet. I talked to the guys that came back off that one. They were only there for a short period of time. It was a couple months, and it got so bad they just all pulled out and said, fuck it, deal with your shit. Left a pack of a bunch of crates of MRAs and said, fuck it, it's yours, we're out. Because they were fighting for the MRAs, the same shit, different year, but same shit. They're crazy as fuck down there. So you went with all that, and you guys got combat action in Haiti, which is fucking wild, and then you got a humanitarian ribbon for picking up all the trash and helping beautify everything. And then so after you got that present, and you guys Pop Smoke, you guys come back to the States after your 5-month deployment,
and it was a quick turn to Fallujah now.
Oh shit. So that was my next question. You went on to another deployment. How long were you in the Marine Corps before switching over to go to Buds?
9.5 years.
9.5 years. So
Yeah,
in that nine and a half
I turned
years,
30 at Buds.
holy shit, old
I
man
know.
at Buds.
No, I don't recommend that.
No, not at all. Yeah, shit.
Just
But
too dumb to
that's a
quit.
testament
That's
to your
all it is,
character.
man.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I heard from another SEAL. He goes, it's easy. He's like, honestly, Hell Week and Buds is easy. Just don't quit. He's like, once you know how to quit, it's really easy to just not fucking quit.
Yeah,
It's hard,
kinda
but it's
the ante with Hell Week. I ended up breaking a bone 2 days before, and I went through Hell Week with a broken pelvis.
holy fuck me, dude. Jeez Louise, you're just a glutton for punishment. So well,
Hey,
let's
man,
get
hits
into
keep
that.
on running. I ain't gonna
So-
stop.
100%. Yeah. So you did 9 years in the Marine Corps. What rank did you get?
I had just picked up captain.
So you just picked up captain. What caused you to want to go into the SEALs? Why? Like you're already have a career in the Marine Corps. You're already a captain. Well, what caused you to go in to do that?
Well, it was one of those things, man. I saw the ground time ending, and that's what I absolutely loved. And it was just I had a bad run-in with the battalion commander that I was with, and just had kind of a sour taste in my mouth. And it's like I kind of wanted to level up a little bit. Not to say that that's what I wanted to go to the next level.
Right, for your skills and what you think your skill set is, not your rank, but your skill set. And
yeah,
what
I
you're
mean,
doing.
I could, dude. I never gave a crap about rank. I
Right.
didn't. I still don't. It didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was being with the boys and being in the field and being on the ground and going and fighting the fight. Man, I'd already gotten I already got my teeth cut, and I just wanted more of it, and I could not see myself riding a desk, and I didn't. It was to the point too to where we were coming to the, it was after Ramadi, and and I didn't see much else big stuff happening, and it was time to go somewhere else, man. Career was kind of heading that way too, and just it was time. So I was looking at a whole bunch of different options, man, and I looked at CAG, I looked at Green Berets. I looked at SWAT team for I was the New York State Troopers, even went up and took their tests. And it was just one of those things where I didn't really know where to go, and I didn't know what the options were. But I grew up with the Luttrell twins.
And MARSOC wasn't an option either.
There was no MARSOC. It was Force Recon. The MARSOC wasn't a thing. So it was MARSOC had gone. It was Det 1. Because Det 1 had started up. I think they were in Florida, but they didn't really do much. And then the guys that they were sending over to Afghanistan, they ended up in some trouble, and it just wasn't a thing just yet. And then Force Recon's wasn't even a part of SOCOM, so that it was they did a lot of great stuff and a lot of fantastic things in Iraq in the early days and everything. But it was just one of those deals where I was I kind of almost ranked myself out of doing anything there, because there weren't company commanders going out in the field at that point. Especially not in a soft.
You still wanted to get out there and get the shit done with your boys.
Yeah, that was it. And that's the only reason I joined in the first place, right? I had no plans of even being a lifer going in. It just became something that was a part of me, and I just said, you know what? When it stops being fun, I'll get out. But like I said, I grew up with the Luttrell twins, and
awesome.
Morgan had just finished jump school. The trainer part down at Bragg, and he had come up to Lejeune, and we were talking, and he goes, "Hey dude, why don't you come over to teams?" And I went, "Okay, cool. So how do I do that?" And he's like, "Well, Marcus had his thing, and he knows some pretty top brass. We can at least introduce you. We'll help open the door, but it's up to you." And I went, "All right, cool." So they got me some good interviews, and I guess they liked my story and where I was headed, and they didn't care that I was senior, and they're like, "Dude, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And then I did that, and I trained my butt off, to get ready physically. And it took a lot, man. It was one of those things where it's always like you're the first one. Even when I was retiring, it's like I was the first one to retire. I had to go to all these different places. Like, you guys don't have a process for this? Like, this is nuts.
Right.
So, but for an inter-service transfer, like, are you kidding me? This was like 2000. I started end of 2005. I started the process,
right?
And they're like, we don't even know what this is. So I was really lucky. I was at School of Infantry at the time on my B billet, and the battalion commander
Mhm.
that was there was a former manpower and reserves guy, and the lieutenant
Wow.
colonel, and he knew a ton of people. So he called
Mhm.
up all his folks because he's such a great guy. Sean here, he's a phenomenal individual, and he was like, "Hey man, if that's your dream, I'm going to do everything I can to help get you there. You've done good work for us. This is awesome. We'll get you there." I'm like, "All right, cool." So he helped
What
push
year?
my paperwork, and I was calling up the detailer for Naval
Mhm.
Special Warfare. It took 2 months just to get a freaking email back.
Wow.
I was calling and emailing twice a day, both twice a day for
Mhm.
2 months straight. It wasn't like I was hearing no, I was hearing radio silence, man. And then finally I get an
Wow.
email that says, "Hey, I hear you're interested in Naval Special Warfare." And I'm like, "You think?" Um, so
Sounds like
uh
the VA.
do it right,
Yeah, dude.
you get an answer there, and you don't even know if it's right or not.
Exactly.
So, but there was one lady there, and she took a liking to me, and she helped me out. And then it was, hey, these are the steps. No kidding, what you need to do, and then you go before a board, and then they only pick
Okay.
one a year.
Wow.
Inter-service transfer person. So I was going up with a
Wow.
whole bunch of other people from all the other branches, and it
Wow.
was the PT test, the background, and all that other stuff. So I think
Yeah.
my background helped me out, and then the people that the boys introduced me to and had me do a bunch of interviews with, I guess that helped out too, because
Yeah.
I had some pretty solid people in good positions. So that worked out, and then next thing you know, it took 2 years, the whole process, man. And then next thing you know, I'm
Wow.
at the freaking quarterdeck at Buds, dude.
What year were you at the quarterdeck at Buds?
2007.
2007. Okay.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, what you just explained, I mean, that sounds pretty like tough, like a hard lottery to get into. Like you have to be top notch to get accepted like that, especially probably at an officer level.
Yeah.
My buddy was actually I went to high school with him. His name's Lorne, and
Yeah.
he was in the Marine Corps, and then he left. He wanted to go over and do the same thing. He left and he got in the reserves and went active reserves, did some deployments with them, and then he was like, you know what, I want to do the same thing. I want to go and and test my skills somewhere else. And he actually got into that inter-service transfer, went over to Buds,
Yeah.
and I never heard from him again. His Instagram and Facebook went black and gone, just disappeared.
Probably
And
made
then
it.
maybe, and then I just saw him working some random job like in the Navy, and I was like, the fuck? Like,
So one of two things happened. One,
like
he either
something
made it
was
and
fishy.
something weird happened,
Yeah.
or he didn't make it and he was embarrassed.
Maybe. I'm like, dude, I don't know, but I like to think the former, that he made it and that he's rocking it and he just doesn't want to tell anybody because of operational security. That makes sense to me.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
dude,
this
if
is-
you're tight enough with him, it's like everybody thinks, there's this freaking secret smoke
Yeah.
signal or smoke sign that goes up, and you can't tell anybody in because I'm in the teams. That ain't the case, man. Like a lot of the stuff that they do is unclassed. I mean, for goodness sakes, man, they've got the freaking Buds
Yeah.
videos everywhere. So
Right.
it's like this, your identity. Yeah. Okay, fine. But I get that. But at the same time, like you could tell your friends and family you're a daggum SEAL.
Yeah, I still don't know to this day, and I'm like, that's so crazy. But
I
I mean,
don't
it puts it in perspective. I'm like, that's really tough to do, And so you made it. You said you're 30 years old, going through
I
Buds.
turned 30 at Buds, yeah.
How was that?
Well,
was
it takes a little longer to get up in the morning, And I had
Everything's
some
so
miles on
certain.
me too, man. It's like I was
Yeah.
a fresh 30. I had a couple of miles
Right.
on me. So
Right.
so yeah, it was tough, man. Tough on the body. But it's one of them things where you got the heart and the mind and a strong will and a really good prayer life and everything's fine.
Right. Yeah. So how was it? So when you got into the teams, how was it being an officer? How did they treat you being prior service and all that stuff? What was that like with the whole dynamic?
It was weird at first because I went right into a platoon OIC billet, which usually you got an AOIC to kind of cut your teeth. So it was weird being in charge of all these team guys when I was really a new guy,
Right.
but then wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like
Right.
I had already had more combat time than most of the senior SEALs that were there. Yet
Right.
it was a weird balance, man. Very, very strange.
Yeah.
The Buds experience was very odd. Also, it was different, but yeah, it was the whole dynamic changed. But it was like I went from freaking leading. The leadership part wasn't an issue at all because it was like going from 131 guys, in a company commander in Marine Corps to I'm now an 03 that's in charge of a platoon of 14 guys. Like, okay.
Right.
can do this math. This is not a problem. but it was cool because you get more ground time. And I opted out because I didn't know that you could actually like deny promotion and say I'm good. Roll me to the next one to stay on there and stay keep more ground time. So I did that as long as I possibly could before they'd kick me out. So it worked out.
What was those deployments like? Last SEAL we had on, he was part of SEAL Team 2, 6, and 7, and he had some crazy experiences and some crazy stories. What were some of those experiences like when you were deploying with your team? What was that
man?
Like?
So the first deployment that I had was actually UCOM. We got a whole bunch of different AOs and partner forces that we were working with over there, and that was it was very, very different working with the partner nations, and then all the stuff that we had, the authorities we had to go through. The first time I had to working with Station, getting over there, and then the partner force and starting to understand relationships, that how big of a freaking deal it is that you're over in that country, and the ambassador for it. And I'm the one that's going up and talking to like the commander of the Flotilla 13 in Israel, and also, it was pretty cool. And then when you're the deployed force that's over there in Germany, you're talking to everybody that's part of the UCOM, and SOC-UR and SOC-AF are all over there. So you're talking to all these guys with stars on their collars, and if something pops up, you're the one that's going to go out and do whatever op they have for you. So that was pretty cool to get spun up and going to different countries and doing a couple different things there. But the real fun one was the second deployment that I had, and that was Afghanistan. And it was if you ever hear about the long deployment with the SEAL team, so it's the longest deployment in SEAL history, SEAL Team 10.
Okay.
So we were in Afghanistan for just shy of 13 months. Doing team guy
months for SEALs is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're used to when we're a very, very offensive minded crew. So going out and trying to op, 7 times in a week is very, very hard to do for that long. So it's like you have to learn temperance, or guys are going to start getting burned out, right?
Right.
But so that was a really interesting dynamic. Extortion 17 went down during that deployment too.
Oh shit.
Yeah. We were 50 miles south of the crash site, I think, like that. We were one of the first outstations. One of the first outstations to get the list, and a real good buddy of mine. That's the dude I'm going to shout out to at the end here. But real good buddy of mine was on that bird. So he was actually staying on Morgan's couch at the time. Whenever it happened. Great dude, man. John Thomas and JT. But that one stung a bit, but it wasn't. They didn't go out in vain, man. We went back and put a hurting on the Taliban after that one. Not that we weren't.
Oh, I freaking bet.
But it got pretty bad. And then the deployment after that one, we can get back to that one. But the deployment after that one, we actually got to go work in the Tangi Valley where that went down. So and I don't know what the guys that were down there, that original unit, I don't know why they were there, but they had a single unit had absolutely no business being in that freaking valley, man. Absolutely not. I mean, it is a freaking hornet's nest, and there's no way in or out. There's one way in. It's bottlenecked.
Oh, I bet.
Huge valley, one road that goes through it, and there's caves, and there's caves and villages that go all through the daggum thing, and it's enormous. So when you go in, if they want you to stay, you're staying, and if you get pinned down, there's nowhere to go. So I don't.
Oh yeah, it's like a massive choke point.
No, what we did was we bottlenecked it on both sides and just almost made it like checkpoints. You put freaking Overwatch on the top sides of each hill watching the road, and then you put vehicle checkpoints down there, and you can, do your business going in and out of there. And it worked out just fine. And some of the snipers, it was like fish in a barrel out there. But yeah, that was the way we controlled it. We got zero. None of our guys got hurt doing that. So like I said, I don't know why that crew
that's really good.
But anyway,
that's strange. Yeah, I mean,
it was wild. But yeah, that deployment was weird, man. That was when VSO became a big thing, the Village Stability Operations. This is back during the long deployment, 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And our job was to kind of create white space which is always fun, right?
Okay.
And which pretty much means that you get dropped into this awful place,
Mhm.
and you have to create spots that becomes a place where freedom of movement can happen. So you're making concentric circles, like a safe zone, trying to spread it out and spread it out and spread it out. And then they called it spreading governance, right? So you try to get the district governor, try to get the district chief of police, and then form up Afghan local police and have them stabilize the area so that way they'll so that way they'll stay in it. And all the while you're trying to push the Taliban out, right? Which they're trying to do their business, and wreak all the havoc and get all the drugs and all that stuff out of there. So it was doing a lot of infiltration there and trying to win the hearts and minds you best you possibly could, but it's a band-aid on a sucking chest wound, man. They know we're only there for a little bit, and all they have to do is wait us out. And then the people that would help us, they know the Taliban are going to come back and kill everybody down to the beginning of their gene pool, if they talk to us. So we had to make ourselves more of a threat almost than the Taliban did. Not to the people, but it's guerrilla warfare, right? How do you win in guerrilla warfare? Two things: money and fear. So we had the money, now we had to make the fear happen, and that's exactly what we did. And
that must have been really difficult dealing with those like the village goers, the sheiks and all that stuff, and trying to get them on your side, knowing like if once they leave, the Taliban's coming back and they're going to come and freaking hurt us. So how are you able to just give them money and that you're able to win their hearts and minds over by that? Or what were you guys using to persuade them? Just money?
We tried money, and money kind of worked in the beginning. That actually got us a lot of IED facilitation routes found, which was great. We actually got an attaboy from the Department of Defense because we found one of the biggest stashes of homemade explosives in our area. I believe it was 5,286 pounds of HME that we found in one stash.
Wow.
And that our EOD guy did the math, and it equated to like 550 some odd IEDs that could have been spread throughout all of Afghanistan to kill, coalition fighters, and we blew it all up in one stop shop. Oh, they were so mad. It was awesome.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
But that like the standoff when he set the charges for that thing, man, the freaking the minimum safe distance was a mile.
Oh shit.
A mile. So we pulled back. It was like maybe like 2:33 in the morning when we blew it. But we got back like a mile and a half just because, right? And we still like as soon as it went whoof, it almost would force you back from that far away. It was such a big explosion.
I can only imagine how big that explosion, how all that pressure you felt in your chest, because we used to blow up 1,750 pounds of C4, and we would sit back a mile and we would watch it and it'd blow up, and you'd see the shockwave going through the tall grass, and then it hit you and you're like, ooh, that's crazy. I can only imagine
the heat from it. It's gnarly, dude. It was something.
Crazy.
It was in a we dumped it all in a big wash, but it was pretty sick, man.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, really made the Taliban mad. But it was like the heart of the fighting season too, and they had the Chechenian dudes that they were hiring for Mercs coming out.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, fighting against those guys, shooting at white guys with beards. It was weird because we knew something was wild too, because the guys would come up on ICOM, right, and you'd hear them, and it was you'd hear Pashtun and Dari, but in an Eastern Bloc accent.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I heard those guys really knew how to fight. They weren't
time.
like the regular Taliban. Like they were coordinated and they were very good.
Big time.
What was it like going against those guys toe to toe?
Well, I mean, it was like fighting against I'm not gonna say one of us, but someone that understood the land and someone that understood tactics. And they, I mean, obviously they're fighting for money. There weren't any ethos. We never really caught any of them alive, but those guys had a lot of skills, man. A lot of skills. So it took us having to go back into the old drawing boards a little bit to make sure we're getting them. It was weird, man. It kind of reminded me of, in somewhat of a way, but in less crazy, but the idea of the berserkers back in the Viking era, right? Where they had that one dude that was like, but they could only have one per like company, because he'd end up like killing all the good guys too. They didn't matter. They just released him to the wild, because you didn't see any much coordinated attacks with those guys and the Taliban.
Yeah.
You just see them out by their, onesies and twosies.
Right. So, just by themselves, just doing their whole merc deal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but some of them, some of those guys were fantastic shots about what they were, what they were, and where they were taking them from, and everything was high angle, man. If you ever hit anything, even for our guys, if you ever hit anything cold bore, that was just like a saddle up, boys. We're done today. That's it. We just got our one, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very, very, very interesting being able to tie into the public and having to talk to those folks and establish a working relationship with the people. So, I mean, we started with doing inoculations with all of their livestock. We're like, all right, cool. So we'll bring an ag cap.
Hearts and minds.
Yep. And that's what we did. We brought an ag cap. We brought out parts for the Carez systems, right? So they could get water and, and blankets and all this other stuff, right? So we kind of did everything that we could to help them. And they're like, great, cool. They'll take, but they're not going to give much back. But eventually we had a really good level 2 guy that was really good talking. And him and the Terp, they would go off to the side when we're talking to the bigwigs or whatever. He'd go off to the side and pick out certain people and would just go talk to them, and would end up with a lot of great information. And it actually ended up making a lot of friends with the locals, because they hated the Taliban as much as we did, if not more so, because so a lot of those guys had some of their family members killed by it, and they just wanted somebody to do something. And it was one of those things where much like back in the World War II days, right? It was, Hitler and them worked off of fear. They have 4 or 5 guys go in and say, give me your country. And they're like, all right, here you go. But it was kind of like that, where it's like, if those guys would actually rally together, you could take these dudes, but they just had them running scared, man. So it's like, all right, well, as brutal as
they're afraid of what happens when they get caught. Like they don't want to lose their fucking head, or they want to get, stoned to death or thrown off the top of a roof.
It's all public. Everything's public, right?
Yeah.
It's
like the cartels.
Exactly. So, and it's funny you mentioned that too, because they had those strong arm style tactics. So, you had the opium fields out there, right? Yeah. So they would have the locals, they would give them an AK and say, hey, go, shoot at Americans if they come near this area, but this is our area for growing. And then, they till the lands or whatever. And in turn, they would get the protection of the Taliban, which, how does that really even happen? Right.
Yeah.
But,
they're just thugs.
No, that's all it was. So what we do, we burn the fields.
Go fuck you guys, dude.
Yeah. And you see the old black squares, that were wrapped up, and we put them all in the middle with all, because that was a big thing too, is they all had motorcycles there too, and we'd put it in all those things in the middle of town, douse them in diesel, flame on, and be like, come on, man, let's go. And then we'd egg them on as best as we possibly could. Stay behinds worked really, really well for them, because we found out that they were, we would go in and talk to a village, and then we'd leave 30 minutes later. They'd come out of motorcycles out of the mountains, and then goes, what'd you tell them, and all that stuff. So do a couple little tactics there, and leave a little crew back, and then they take care of business, and then that's it. And it works. And that, I mean, you pull that one out of that. That's Patton and Rommel 101, right? Leave it, stay behind. So it just worked out great. And our guys got what they needed. And then once the people started to see what we were doing, they really, really, really liked it. And we ended up with a fantastic relationship with the locals, and our white space went from nothing to probably about maybe 9 to 10 kilometers of white space around our area. Yeah, there was a right outside of where we were at, there was a bazaar, and I got a picture of it. Like when we showed up, it was nothing but motorcycles. It looked like a freaking biker bars, right? And back then, the Taliban, they were the only ones riding motorcycles, and that was actually engagement criteria. If we saw somebody riding on a motorcycle, put them down. And they didn't care; they weren't scared of us at all.
Right.
But when we were done, I could walk down that dadgum thing. The whole street looks like Wild Wild West, right? It's one street and everything's on the sides, right? I could walk down there with just my pistol and feel absolutely safe and go, buy groceries or whatever if I wanted to.
So you guys effectively did your job.
Yeah.
And created
weird how that works out,
space
right?
than what you found it. You left it better than what you found it. And, unfortunately, you guys took a casualty.
And we stood up 2 factions of Afghan local police from just the local yokels, man.
Wow.
We got them funded for AKs and food and things like that. And we set up 2 checkpoints to the east and west of where we were at, which allowed us that great freedom of movement. But it's interesting though, because you come back, 2 years later and the whole place is scorched earth.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
Like I don't even know how long it lasted.
Oh, probably not.
All I know is that we did our part, and it was one of those things. Guys obviously were there for long enough, and there's so many things you're going to talk around watching fire TV, and you're just sitting around the fire, and it's why are we here? And it came down to I don't care. We're here for each other, and that's what we're going to
Exactly.
And that's what it's that, for lack of a better term, it's just a ride or die thing, and we're going to stand on each other's shoulders to get the job done, and we're going to get it done to the best of our ability, the way we know how, and that's defense is more offense, and then whoever it is that comes in, give them a good turnover, and then we're going to roll out.
Yeah, and that's the solid way to look at it. I mean, and I have talked to a friend who's Afghani. She's been brought into our family. She's part of our family now, and she is a very, very good person. Her family is a lot old, like very old school, but she's I think in her early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, and the younger generation that like that age and maybe to like 20, like the younger generation up until like the 40s, they're pretty I don't know, pretty patriotic when they're with the ones I've spoke to that they've come here and they have adopted the American way of life. And I was talking to her and I was like, hey, so what was it like living out there? Because what it was like, she's like, well, when the Americans came, she goes, it was really dangerous because of the Taliban, and then things would get safer, and then shortly after they leave, the Taliban would come back, and our family was just like, we can't live like this anymore. We're farmers and stuff. We just had to leave because it wouldn't be safe after they left. And it would be great when they were there. We'd have schools, everything was good, and it was great. And then it would just disappear. And she's like, I remember going to school out there before the Taliban got involved, and we were just, living our life, and it was nice because we liked it out there. It was beautiful. It was whatever. And then they came in and just ruined everything. And it was so sad. I was like, God dang, that's fucking horrible. And she came here and she completely adopted the American way of life. And she's just like, that shit's, it's ridiculous. And she talks about it and how crazy it is and how crazy the Taliban is. And like, it's just, she has a totally different way of thinking. And it's crazy to put the American perspective. Well, these kids you see nowadays that are like, fuck the government, fuck this, fuck that. Like, and they're like almost communists, right? And you talk to someone who's come from some war-torn country and they're like completely opposite. You know what I mean?
Because you have no idea. It's
Exactly.
perspective, but it's that cyclical nature, and we're in that time now where, soft times are going to create weak men, and that's kind of where we're at. But but the cool thing is, man, is that the fighters are still out there, and there are younger fighters that are being brought up. And that mentality is still getting spread, even though there's a little bit, even in the teams, there's a little bit of entitlement, at least that I saw on the way out. But that's up to the older guys to, for lack of better terms, beat it out of the new guys. But and the problem is too, is that all of that gets humbled when the first shots go out. And it sucks that it's that way. But when you have to bury a buddy of yours or something like that, it's like history becomes very, very important, because if you don't study where you've been, it's hard to blaze a trail to where you're going and not make mistake and not repeat the same mistakes. Right. Like we had our Roberts Ridge, we had our Red Wings, we had our Extortion 17. Let's freaking learn from that and learn from others too. And like I said, I was using World War II tactics out there, but the only reason that I knew them is because I read books.
History.
And that's the thing, is that people don't change. Terrain doesn't change, and warfare doesn't change. Stuff is the only thing that changes, right? The technology and everything like that, and that's what you adapt your tactics to, or else then you're like this, the end of the Spartan run. Hey, we're gonna they like fighting they're real good at fighting in the face, but they really stink standing off. But they say we're weak. Yeah, cool. Well, they're gonna be dead and tough dead guys. So, but they failure to adapt. So you have to be able to adapt to those technologies, and you have to keep up with them too. The whole near peer fight and everything. But it's having the heart to be able to stand toe to toe, just like with the bully thing, right? You have to be able to have people that will stand toe to toe when bad things come. But the problem is that
Right.
when you're in a society when you don't have to necessarily have that, then it's going to get soft. Because that's the thing is
Exactly.
that and it's going to breed soft. You see that with the
Mhm.
helicopter parenting of the young kids nowadays, right?
Mhm.
When's the last time you saw somebody in Walmart get jerked into the bathroom, get their butt whooped, right? Like,
Oh yeah. Oh, I got a bad story about that too, man. Like
yeah,
that's how I'm not a helicopter parent. I don't fucking do
yeah,
that. I'll grab my child and I will take them off into a corner and I will talk to them. I will discipline them and then I will come back out and we'll go on our merry way. I do that with every one of my kids. And I've had to discipline my kids in front of people and then they come up to me, they're like, well, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hey, I'm not raising a soft boy or girl.
sure,
They need to be tough because the world isn't nice. And this patty cake bullshit,
yeah,
that isn't what's going to greet them out there. They're going to get punched in the fucking face. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Right when they step out those doors. And I need to make sure that they are ready when they go out. Fuck helicopter parenting. Fuck the back off. And no, if my kid falls down, I'm gonna let them get back up, self-soothe, unless it's really fucking bad. But then I'm not gonna rush over. I'm gonna calmly walk over because that's not gonna change anything, right?
yeah.
And assess the situation, take care of them, be like, it's okay, even if it's really fucking bad. Because if I freak out, they freak out, and then it's just, it's just they just grow up without consequence. They don't know anything. They're babied. They're coddled. It doesn't go anywhere. But kind of the sound of the stuff you're talking about. You did a career in the Marine Corps, basically. 9.5 years. You go over to the Navy. You continue on your career, right? And you do a total of was it 26 or 27 years or something?
Yeah,
you were saying?
almost 27. Yeah.
27 years, and then you created Divine Savagery.
Yep.
And you're a motivational speaker.
One of many things. Yeah, it's the military. We do things in threes.
Yeah.
So there's three pillars,
Exactly.
right? One of
Yeah.
it's speaking, and that's I say motivational. I hate that word, but nobody else identifies. If I say disciplined speaker, they're going to think I'm going to come out and start beating people. But that's what I speak on is discipline, because that's what's going to get people off their freaking keister and where regimented into their life. Motivation's fleeting.
Right.
It's discipline, it's mental toughness, it's mindset, and which is funny because they understand that, but I talk more about what the heart can do. Letting passion drive you. I'm an 80s kid, man, so I'm all about Rocky and Rambo. So it's
Yeah, dude.
and I have this thing where I talk about the heart and the mind, and there's a super highway in between. Therein lies the will, and that's indestructible, and that's what you have to tap into to get what it is that you want. So, so yeah, man, that's kind of like the thing with the speaking piece. Some people want grit and they just want to hear stories, and I'll give them that too. Whatever they want. I'm really amenable with that. I mean, and then talking to anybody, and I always tailor it to whoever the individual is. Then the second piece is that kind of fell in my lap, man, was business optimization. Going into big business. Why did it have to be big business, man? I go to a mom and pop place up to a Fortune 100 company, talking to CEOs, talking to the head sheds, the owners, and going, hey, look, here's how you might want to work your leadership piece, all based off of literally JJ did Ty Buckle from the Marine Corps, right? And then a more of a servant leadership life way of doing things. You get more out of your people. They actually show up to work wanting to be at work, vice just going there and killing time and working for 8 bosses and all this other stuff. And then, working on efficiencies of, hey, maybe these people don't need to be working here. Maybe this isn't the attitude. Work with the COOs and say, hey, this is organizationally how you might want to task work stuff. So that's number 2. The third pillar is wellness. So the wellness piece, working mind, body, spirit. So helping people strength train, because strength is never a weakness. We've been talking about that, right?
Yes, sir.
If you slow down, you go down. That's it. But helping people program strength, workouts and things like that. I can do symposiums and go talk to people on that and work on the strength side, and then the importance of sleep and the importance of how diet and nutrition works in there too, and then whatever they want to work with that, from the individual up to the big old team, and we can make it a big old package, man, and it's freaking cool.
And you learned all of that. I'm assuming some was from college, but I'm assuming most of it you learned from the Marine Corps and from being a team leader on a SEAL team, right?
The leadership piece. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because it's the idea, the whole from the battlefield to the boardroom. Right. So it's taking something from a very extreme environment that, I've talked to, top tier pro athlete teams, to church groups, it doesn't matter. And, giving them kind of this is what it was like in real life. And
Right.
this is how hard things can actually get. And from that different perspective, it helps to motivate, inspire, and then drive the players, the individuals in that work area. I mean, I've even gone out and talked to tech companies, man, out in
Mhm.
Cali. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, I'll talk to a wall and get it fired up. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things, man. Whatever I
think
can do
is-
to try to leave things a little bit better than the way I found them, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And where can they find you if they want to talk to you or they want to see what you do outside of the teams and all that stuff, and they want to learn some of this stuff, or they maybe want someone for their company? Where can they go and find you and contact you and get that information?
Yeah, they can go to the website, man, to divinesavagery.com, or they can hit me up on LinkedIn, just under Tommy Richardson, or at Instagram at raise.your.horn.
All right.
Yeah.
So be sure to go check him out, and check out this episode and listen to it and show your friends. I mean, he has got a wealth of knowledge. If you are anyone who has a company and you think your leadership is lacking, you should definitely hit this guy up. Go to his website, divinesavagery.com, check him out, email him, hit him up on Instagram, and we will make sure that we share all of those that media and stuff on our posts, and we'll
Okay,
give it
great.
to you. We'll talk about that after. So yeah, as we're getting ready to close this out, because we're at an hour and we have so much more to talk about. We would love to have you back on as a guest
Sure.
if
Yeah,
you
man.
would be okay with that.
For sure.
Okay, so we're going to contact you. We're going to be in contact. We're going to get you to come back on for a part 2,
right.
and go over some more of your deployments in the SEALs, and as well as we're going to dive into that West Side Barbell. I mean, there's so much stuff we could talk about, and I'm just so enthralled with the West Side Barbell. Your time in the SEAL teams and your time in the Marine Corps. I think we have so much more to talk about, and it's great. But as we close out this episode, we always give each guest a chance to dedicate their episode to a fallen brother or sister. And I understand that you have a dedication.
Yeah, absolutely. Just throw a shout out to the Tumleson family out in Iowa. They took heavies not only when JT got killed, but throughout the rest of the family too. So my heart and prayers goes out to everybody that knows JT or knew JT, and what an incredible operator he was at Gold Squadron, and just a phenomenal human being that he was. The guy truly had a heart of platinum, man. He would absolutely do anything for you. If you were down, he'd bring you up, and he always had a smile on his face, and he was a really deadgum hard worker, and he was a heck of a friend, a heck of a brother, and heck of a teammate. So shout out to JT, man.
Well, JT, rest easy, brother. We've got it from here.
Yep.
Tommy, thank you so much for coming on. I want to say thank you all today for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on Instagram at war_stories_official, and our Facebook at War Stories Podcast. If you're already following us, we'd really appreciate it if you could share a post and help spread the word. You can also check us out in the link in our bio on both platforms to find all of our social media, our media links, and our website. Our podcast is available on all major streaming platforms, as well as on YouTube. If you'd like to support us, please head over to our website at www.warstoriesofficial.com. Grab some gear. Do you have a friend or a story to tell? Or you know someone who has a story? We're always looking for law enforcement, corrections officers, dispatchers, firefighters, medics, ER docs, and ER nurses, and veterans to follow, to feature on the show. If you're interested, email us at booking.warstories@gmail.com and share your story. We know you guys got some crazy ones, and we want to hear it and spread the word. We'd love to have you on. And thank you again for all the support. Stay safe out there. And as always, come home with your shield or on it.